Hello, thank you for tuning into this section of readings. This is on YouTube channel James 13 Wicca. I am currently doing in-person readings in Herkimer, New York. If you're near there and you want more details, shoot me an email, I'll tell you about it. Um, I'm going to put the information like the decks and stuff like that below. Other than that, if you want a reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below. And let's go ahead and get into your reading. Hello, Libra. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's read. These readings are valid for whenever you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Libra? There's a lot of... All right, so the Ace of Wands was first out, and I was thinking, am I just losing my mind, or do I got a lot of energy all of a sudden? A lot of going on. I think it's good. It feels exciting. It feels positive. I like it. Like, we want that, right? How do you get the outcome that you actually want is the trick here. Okay. How do you get the outcome that you... So, not to shortcut this, but where I feel like we're going with this, even before we get down the road too far, there's like some choices here where there's a choice where it seems like, okay, this is great, this is success, I can be happy with that. Or there's the like, yeah, but there's a better outcome that I actually want. Do I want to take this other turn here and get the better outcome? And it's kind of like a question mark, kind of like, you know, do I want to let it be and that's good enough? Or it's kind of like, you know what, should I go for the gold on this one? Should I go for the gold? It's like in a, you know, in an Olympic reference there. Should I go for the gold? I feel like you have you been harsh to yourself on this one? You might have been harsh to yourself on this one, this subject. Things have gone well in the past. Things have gone well in the past. You have made a good effort, and you have made a good impact. But I feel when I see this Emperor here, and I get the 5 of Coins, which is the 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Earth, I feel like I haven't been satisfied. And maybe you've been a little overcritical of yourself. Because I keep looking back, and like from the outside, it looks like you did really well. But from the inside, the way you're feeling about it is like, I don't think it was that good. Libra is also an energy, in my opinion. You set up a lot of things that maybe you don't see it hash out in front of you. And it's like you might leave or step away from the situation for a while, even permanently, and never see it actually finish out the way it needs to. But you do give a lot of people the ability and the opportunity to make different choices. So you may not see like, I didn't get the outcome I was going for. This didn't balance the way I wanted it to. And I feel like maybe you even feel like I failed at this because of that or because of this. And I feel like from the outside, I'm like, you didn't. You gave opportunity. A lot of things on this planet, take this wherever you want to take it, are about giving people opportunities to make better choices. And you do, I feel like Libra gives plentiful chance. Plentiful. You're very plentiful, giving people the opportunity to do things better, to do things differently. So whatever this is we're going into, I feel like maybe you are very critical of yourself, but it's kind of like the overall energy is like part of your purpose to be here is to give people the opportunity and even the instructions sometimes to say, did you think about it this way? Did you see this thing over here? Did you realize this is happening when you do that? And you give information and you give chances to people who maybe haven't had the right chances, but and it may be weird because it's kind of like, yeah, but they didn't choose what I was hoping they were going to choose. They didn't realize that. Yeah, but they had every opportunity, and you were a part of that. So you give people the ability to do so, and some people do take that. So I feel bad about this saying this, but you got a very healing effect. It's just, I feel like you're very critical to yourself. It's kind of like, I feel like the way I'm looking at this is like, I'm helping people study for a test, and I want them to ace it. And some of them barely squeak by with a passing grade. And you're looking at them like, but they don't have any issues. Like, if they had a learning disability, I worked with that. And I did this, and I did everything I could, and they do have the potential to do it. It's kind of like knowing they can, but they chose not to. It's kind of like saying they just had to like show up, and I would help them. They just had to come to me or let me call them or pick up the phone, but they didn't participate. And in effect, they chose not to participate in the situation, and this test just wasn't that important to them. They just squeaked by. That's all they wanted. And you're like, I can see where you're going to need this later. I really wish you would do this. I really wish you would let me help you. So it's kind of like, it reminds me of being in high school, and it's kind of like, realizing the resources are there, but for whatever reason, not taking advantage of those resources. And it's kind of like frustrating for the people teaching it, kind of like, there's so many ways we could try, so many different ways to help you if you just work with us so we can find out which way it was, which way we need to go here, what we need to do to help you do that. And these people just not really putting in the effort to even show up for that. And I feel like that's kind of like, and you might be putting it on yourself, kind of like, I don't know how to inspire these people. But maybe that's not the point. The point is you have the ability for those who are willing to engage with you on it. You do really well with this. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that, because it's either you're either gonna agree with it or be like, nah. So I respect that. Ironically, you're gonna be shocked to know that the situation like this is coming forward again. No way. I feel like there's gonna be people who are watching this like, yeah, that's my whole life. So the balance is coming in again. This is an interesting card, especially when it comes up in a Libra reading, because it's Earth, it's Pentacles, right? It's Earth, it's like coins, Pentacles, it's Earth. You're an air sign. But this talks about, to me, I always see this as a version of balance, like where give equals take, where give equals take. And you know what I mean? In the sense of like, maybe you're giving for a while, but then you should be getting yours, you should be getting back too. It's give and take. You should be giving so much, you should be taking so much. It should be balancing that way too, even though this is an Earth card. And I feel like going forward into this next situation, they're trying to highlight having people, kind of encouraging people to give to you first. Okay. Because you're good for it. I feel like you're good for it. For those people watching, I feel like you're good for it. Yeah, judgment in your favor, really, like right straight up and down. Like, yes, they're like, yes, that's exactly what we're saying. In the beginning, get them engaged in it. Get them invested. Get them to where they want to make their investment work. I heard this a couple times in the last year or two, and just yesterday, I think. Giving people the opportunity for free, you'd think that would be for the best. But when people show up for free, they're not overly invested. But if you make them pay X amount of dollars, maybe you make them pay $50 for your help, maybe $10 for your help, whatever it is. When they pay that money, first of all, they're not going to ask for your help unless they're invested in it, because nobody just wants to go, hey, I got $10, here you go, or $50, here you go. If they're going to invest that time with you, invest that like that, they're looking to get something out of this experience. This might be one of those things, like something like that, where they have to invest in you. They have to put forward that first, and then, because again, you're good for it. You know what I mean? You're good for it. And then if you want to, even though I've seen this play out this way, and I think this is interesting, people who give out services, right? And they're like, well, I guess it really should be free, but nobody's doing what I need them to do, so I'm charging for it. But then down the road, X amount of time, they just reinvest that same money back in those people in a different way. Maybe they don't realize that's what they've done, but if that's what you feel you need to do. So it's kind of like, oh my God, it was years ago. There was some class I think I had to take, and it was $5 per class. No, $5 for something. $5 for something we had to do. And I feel like by the time it was all said and done, I think it was like $20 total. It was a long time ago, but it wasn't really that much. But I remember all the money this person got, because there was like 5 of us, they bought pizzas with it at the end and like a celebratory thing. And it's just kind of like, I just realized that was a really nice thing they did. But then they also later on, I found the whole purpose was they just wanted people to do things differently. They just wanted to have the effect. That was what meant something to them. And they thought like also having that pizza party at the end, it was more of an incentive and gets people talking about it in a positive way to get the word out there more. I don't know if I'm going really too far into the weeds on that one, but I feel like for those of you that needs to make an effect, you'll get what I'm trying to say there. Get people to invest in you first. We want to do that part first. I feel like, because a lot of you are really good people and you're just like, I don't feel right, doing that. Hopefully this analogy is showing why that could benefit the overall situation and help it literally balance the way you want and have a long-term positive effect. So if you don't want to, then you're not gonna. Because I feel like what I'm talking about is a way so that this situation doesn't become this like, what was the point situation. The 5 of Swords, usually the way I read it, is the fruitless win. Kind of like, I won the castle, but, it's completely vacant and it's destroyed. It's got a lot of water damage. We have to completely tear it down. So I won the castle, but like it's like winning the house, but like it cost me 10 times more to keep it and refurbish it. It's like I technically won, but did I? We want to get away from that because I feel like technically we can get success, but not the long-term success you're looking for. And I feel like we're trying to redirect this so that you don't end up, feeling like you fell short or feeling like I didn't do good enough or this or that. This other version also might change the group of people or whatever's coming at you. It might change that so that you're not getting the people who aren't really serious. You don't want... I don't know how this is going to sound, but you don't want to waste your time on people who are just showing up to fill up a spot. They're like, well, I didn't have anything else to do, so I can just sit here. I might as well just sit here. And they're not really participating. There's no point to that. We want people who are actually going to listen to you, to hear you, to engage with you, and to grow from what you're telling them. They'll also give you opportunities to grow too. Like, you know how that works. I don't think that's any news. You don't have to be afraid of that. For some of you, having fun in this situation, I feel like I'm afraid of that. You don't have to be afraid of that. A lot of energy coming forward, a lot of having to keep things in line. I don't remember the story quite well. This was somebody else who told me this story. But it's like somebody who dealt with troubled children. And they were very careful to not do activities that would get them too riled up. They were afraid to do that because they thought that would cause issue and possible fights. And then they morphed it into like, I think it was a basketball thing, but they had different type of, I don't know how they did it, because they didn't want the kids like in a situation where they could physically touch each other too much because they were afraid that could cause fights. It was some type of basketball thing. They did some rules with that. I don't know if they played a certain game, but they started adding physical activity in, but they changed how they did it. And they kind of like, maybe if we get them to like physically do stuff, they can get that energy going and kind of vent out some of it. We just got to be careful how we do it. And we don't want them to, like, you don't want to play like football because it's a physical sport with kids that might are prone to like getting into physical arguments. You don't want that to happen. But if like, I'm thinking basketball, I think there was something else too, but something where, we could regulate it and like, hopefully they're not throwing the ball at each other, but even if they do, hopefully that doesn't cause too much damage. This situation, I feel like they're also saying, don't be afraid to have fun with it. Don't be afraid to add fun into it in maybe a different way. Like, cause I feel like I'm using that analogy with like, it was troubled children. I remember that. And they were trying to do fun things that were more intellectual, and they were intellectual kids. It's not like that wasn't good, but like they didn't have the balance of intellect and activity, physical activity. It wasn't working that well. And they were afraid to add in that part or that level of fun. And I feel like that's what they're kind of trying to push forward here. Don't be afraid to add in a different level of fun because you're kind of like, I don't know if that's going to work. You know how to try it. You know how to test it in little pieces and to see if it can happen. They're saying give yourself a chance to let things try. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Don't be afraid to have fun with it is what I keep getting from that. That's that point where it's kind of like, should I just keep it the same and it's okay the way it is and just be satisfied with that level of success, or do I want to advance it and get that extra level, that deeper, long lasting, like, do I want to have them hit 80 on that test? Do I want them to hit 95, possibly 100? This is the difference. So you might be like, well, 80 is good enough. 80 should be fine. Maybe I'll just be, and that's your business. Or some of you might be like, I could get higher. I could really knock this out of the park. Am I going to go for the gold? Am I going to go for the gold? Excuse me. What is all this? It's not going to always look right on the outside. I feel like, I don't know. Okay. There's a lot coming in at once with this. It's hard to believe in certain things. It's not always going to look right on the outside. And again, I think I mentioned this in the beginning. Sometimes the true effect, especially with Libra, in my opinion, you have a very long-lasting effect. And sometimes people need time to really click into what you've said and click into what you've done. There was a person, I think she was a Libra, now that I think of it. But she told me something one day and I didn't like it. But it haunts me to this day, and it is very effective and it makes sense. It does make sense, whether I like it or not. There's a difference, but sometimes, I think she said sometimes, but there's a difference between being right and being effective. And the difference was, like, you could come right out and say the truth, and if people don't like it, you could turn them right off and they could just be an issue instead of a help. Sometimes you have to kind of give it in pieces, and you just got to try to move the situation where it needs to go, and you got to let people figure it out in their own timing. So I just have that attitude where I just like, this is what it is, boom, I just throw it right out there. So boom, that's what it is. And she made the point, like, you can be right, but if nobody's listening, it's not effective. And then what's the point of being right if it didn't make any difference? You got to find the way to, like, be effective with it, the way to handle it and all the other stuff. And I feel like Libra, like, you get this in different pieces. I understand that, sort of. Whatever you're doing here, you might not see the outcome, the long-term outcome right in front of you, but I get, like, you are having long-term outcomes for people. Long after they've left your presence, long after you have any connection with them, they may not even have the thought of you in their brain, but things you taught them are sinking in, are taking effect when necessary. And I feel like that's what means a lot to Libra, to have those long-term effects. It's good to have the accolades. Granted, it is. But I get that, like, you're being a light to people, and then you're teaching them how to be a light to others without realizing it. It might be farther on down the line. It might be, like, years from now. But things you're doing now is teaching somebody something, and it's becoming, like, a part of their base personality without them really knowing that. You are having a really good effect. The Wheel of Fortune is at play in this situation, so I don't want to act like it's not. I don't know. I feel bad about there's certain things I just feel bad for some reason, and I don't know why that feeling's coming in. Okay. Once in a while, you're going to see where something went way off the rails. That's free will. I don't know what else to say to that. Maybe that's why I feel bad about it, because I don't know what else to say about it. Because some of you, I feel bad because you tried your best, and it's almost like instead of empowering somebody to do better, it's almost like I'm looking at it like I feel like I empowered them to really do even worse. But that's free will. I want to use like a simple... You can teach somebody to use a hammer and nails, for example, right? And you taught them to use it to build a house, build a bookshelf, build whatever. And they could take that and use it for very destructive means. I'm not going to give examples. You clearly know what those are. That's not your fault. And free will is not your fault. especially when whatever you're doing, you're trying to help people and you're teaching them to try to do good things, but free will do what free will does. Just because people have the ability to make a positive choice doesn't mean they will. They have to choose for themselves. So be careful not to get dragged down because somebody took information you taught them and decided to make it a nasty thing. That is not your fault. You clearly, for the people this is hitting for every 100 people that you teach, whatever it is you're expressing, and it could just be a light to them, just being a nice person to them. It could be that, but you're teaching them that somebody's a good person and somebody actually cares. You could be that one. Maybe 2 to 3 of them take that and they turn it into something nasty. But the 97 to 98 other people that you helped, that was more than well worth it. Keep that in mind. So like again, of 100 people, maybe 2 to 3, they took that information, whatever you taught them, and they just twisted it and made it a really ugly thing. But then you got 97 to 98 other people who their life is so much better because of you, and they took what you taught them and they made it, they exponentially built it, and they became a light to others based on how you treated them or whatever you taught them. And sometimes for Libra, it's just the fact that you're nice to somebody that brings somebody's energy up, and you actually are making their life a lot better without realizing it. I feel like Libra is that one. Sometimes people are just feeling really down and they just need somebody to have that belief in them or give them a chance, and you just say the right thing. Libra seems to know what to say, and it could change somebody's whole life without you realizing it, because you just gave somebody that inkling to the fact, like, you don't have to give up, you still have this, you have that, you could do this, I believe in you, you should just believe in yourself. But you have a better way to say it than I just said it. I made it super simple, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. All right, I think I'm going on too long, so I'm going to shut this down here. I hope that helps. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email. jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below. Same email. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.